My debt. Part 5. Finally. This one, we're going over Leonard Cohen's live version in London. It's my second favorite live version of what we're discussing so far. It's probably my second favorite version. I'm not sure. I have to reanalyze that. Though this one's interesting. A little bit different than his album version, for sure. So the album version had 4 verses. The one from Wainwright and Buckley had 5, and those were both written pretty much the same, or they were using pretty much the same verses, I should say. But this one uses 6 verses. Ooh, we're getting ambitious here. But they're all verses that you've seen before, so that's good. So like his album version, this one has an accompaniment. This one has drums, church piano, you have vocalists doing the background harmonies, a bassist, I believe a Spanish guitar? I don't know, someone could correct me on that. I don't mind. Please feel free to do so. Yeah, so you have the accompaniment coming in first. Oh, it has a tenor saxophone. Ooh. I played saxophone for about 13 years, and then I got introduced to singing, which is way more fun in my opinion. That being said, I played the alto sax. Tenor sax I always had a lot of admiration for. And it was a lot more fun to play. Meh. Oh well. So the first verse in this, it's the same that you've heard from every other one. If Leonard Cohen deviated from the same formula, I would be kind of ashamed, to be honest with you. But he still uses that religious imagery of David composing the song Hallelujah. So you'll notice with the structure of this song, you have the first 2 verses, which are really heavy. Well, first 3 actually. The third one kind of deviates, but the first amount of verses uses religious imagery to set up the Hallelujah. Then you have the second verses in the middle, and they use a little bit of religious imagery, but it's not as much of a priority up until you get to, well, actually, it's not a priority for the religious imagery. That's what I'm saying. But then you get up to the ending, or the latter verses, which emphasize how the narrator interprets what a hallelujah is, or what if he's experienced with it. And then you have the last 2 verses, which show the transition into how that hallelujah is to be used. So, you have the first verse using David composing hallelujah, the second verse being the imagery of David, and the other imagery of Simon. Oh geez, I forgot the names already. I should write this down. But Simon, in doing the "From Your Lips She Drew the Hallelujah." Actually, he'll from that verse, the second verse and the 5th verse, he's going to recycle the "Drew the Hallelujah." Then you get to the 3rd verse. So this is where it's a little bit different from Wainwright and Buckley. This is the last line that the former 2 used. Maybe there's a God above and all I ever learned from love. Wainwright and Buckley used that as their final verse. This is the 3rd verse, so pretty much right in the middle. There's a little bit of wordplay that Leonard Cohen goes into. I don't know if this is how it was originally written, or if he alternated the lyrics just a little bit, but it's where Wainwright and Buckley said it's not somebody who's seen the light. He says it's not some pilgrim who claims to have seen the light. A pilgrim being a person who journeys to a sacred place for religious purposes. So he kind of correlates how hallelujah is perceived to be as though it's a pilgrim going on a sacred journey. But ultimately it will lead to nowhere because it's a cold and it's a very broken hallelujah. So rather than just saying it's a broken hallelujah, he puts in the word very to emphasize what that hallelujah truly is. So it's a cold and it's a very broken hallelujah. And this is also the point of the song where Leonard Cohen becomes the most preachy. So you have Rufus Wainwright's version, which he claims is almost liturgical and pure. This version of the song, if you couldn't tell, sounds the most liturgical. The entire time it's like someone's giving a sermon. It's like a pastor giving a sermon at a church. So you can hear Leonard Cohen when he's describing what hallelujah truly is. He says, It's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not somebody who claims to have seen the light. No, it's a cold and it's a very broken hallelujah. So you can kind of hear a pastor going like, no, it's not somebody who's seen the light. No, it's a cold. It's a very broken hallelujah. Not a black pastor, just to clarify. That's just my impression of him. Oh, that can't be racist at all. Anyway, then it goes after that. So you can hear how it gets preachy. So I've been talking about the verses. I should also mention the chorus. So the chorus, Leonard Cohen is overtly singing with the chorus. In the album version, I personally couldn't tell if he's singing with the chorus. I'm pretty sure he is, but this one is a lot more overt. And again, the chorus, what it's doing is holding on to the ideal of what a hallelujah truly is, or I guess in this sense, what it can be used for, which is very interesting in my opinion. Everything's interesting to me when I do these reviews. It's very interesting. But also during the hallelujah, you get the tenor saxophone playing in the background of the chorus. Man, sounds sexy. How, woo! Ugh, good old tenor saxophone putting in that fucking music. Yeah, put that on your bedside and listen. All right, mainly just saying that because I've had a few people let me know that it's very uncomfortable when I say the word sexy or orgasmic. So I'm going to say it a little bit more. Enjoy. But anyway, you have that chorus again. And then you have the middle point right now. And it's the piano solo. And that piano solo, man, it sounds passionate. That's a passionate piano solo. Man, it sounds way better than that guy's mullet looks. I'll tell you that much for sure. And it's very passionate. You hear the crowd clapping in the background when that solo's done. And during the solo, you have the harmony doing their thing that they've done through the entire song, that build up. All the while the piano, well, whatever. And then you have the chorus coming back in again with the saxophone in the background sounding sexy as hell. Oh yeah. Now, verse 4, you have a little bit, like I said, Jeff Buckley, Rufus Wainwright, the verses that they use are in a very specific order. So that last verse that we mentioned in verse 3, it's used at the end. Verse 4, it's used more in the middle of their songs, but it's the "Oh people, I've been here before." So he's literally talking to the crowd that he's singing to. That's a musical choice. He's a performer. When you're performing, you're going to address the crowd. Know this room, I've walked this floor, I used to live alone before I knew you. And then you have a little bit of the religious imagery. I've seen your flag on the marble arch. But listen, love is not some kind of victory march. No. So it starts to get preachy. Love is not some kind of victory march. No, it's a cold and it's a very lonely hallelujah. So he switches out the word broken, the word lonely. I need to look at the archives and see, or if there are archives of how Leonard Cohen intended the song to be written, or intended each verse to be written. I don't know if he used the word lonely, if it was broken initially. But on here, it's lonely. So you have him describing hallelujah in the same way using two different terms. So you have broken, as if it existed before, but it was destroyed. It was destroyed whether it was through heartbreak or something like that. And then also you have lonely. So it's currently how the narrator is experiencing that hallelujah. And it's to be very lonely. So, also like listening to a pastor again. All right. You have the chorus, then you get into verse 5, where he says, "There was a time you let me know what's really going on below, but now you never even show it to me. Do you?" This is the sexual verse of the song. It's still sexual as ever. He changes some of the pronouns, he puts in pronouns, excuse me. It says, "Remember when I moved in you, the holy dove, she was moving too." Now, he refers to the holy dove as a she. I don't know why he used that pronoun. It's not a big deal, but I don't know if it changes the context of what the holy dove is. Sometimes individual words or how something is referred to changes the definition of what it is. So this time, I don't know if it's actually referring to the conception and to Mary. Might still be referring to the act of sex and being lustful. I don't know. Let me know. What do you think? What do you think? And then you have the one hallelujah that is a very distinct change. The every breath we drew was hallelujah. Now this hallelujah, to me, it's distinguished. It sounds very lustful. It sounds very much like it's emulating some form of ecstasy. Almost orgasmic. I don't know. Almost there. But you can tell there's that lustful form of hallelujah, and every breath of it was that hallelujah. Then you have the chorus, and then finally, the end verse of the song. So he makes the decision to keep that end verse where it's at. So the same end verse that's in the album version, it's the same one that's in this live version in London. Says it's the one that I've done my best. I know it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I learned to touch. I've told the truth. I didn't come here to London just to fool you. And then you have the crowd in the background who are like, that's where I'm at. I'm at, that's where I'm watching the concert. Oh, that's me. Oh, applause. Oh, that shit's so silly. I don't know why. It's just like, oh, that's where I'm at. He's at where I'm at. Oh my God. He said it. You know, I think it's stupid, but at the same time, probably if Leonard Cohen was still alive and he was performing in San Diego and he said San Diego, I'd be like, oh, he's talking to me. Whoa. Whoa. I don't know. It's amusing. But it's that transition from love to being purely of lust. Couldn't feel, so he learned to touch. The touch being for some sexual purposes. And then to the end chorus, even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah. So you can kind of hear the end of a sermon right there. It's not as preachy, but it is kind of there. It's him basically giving his love to music. That's what the Lord of Song is, that I interpret at least. So yeah, he wants to give his all to something that he's truly passionate about rather than to someone who is disaffected by it, or who is disaffected, whose love has gone sour or is just completely gone. So it's him giving his all for music, and the crowd goes, great, it's a great song. I love it. Then you get the end of the song with all the hallelujahs. So you have the fifth hallelujah, followed by that silence for dramatic effect, but you can hear the drum in the background doing that just to keep the time. Then the sixth hallelujah, that saxophone hits that super high note, and man, it sounds sexy as fuck. And then you have the end of the song up till the retardando and the end hallelujah. So again, just to kind of end this over here, we're at 13 minutes. Wow. Well, let's get back to hit 14. I'm just going to keep track of time while I'm still recording. So, again, the way that this song is structured, it's still not a religious song. It sounds liturgical in this. It sounds the most liturgical with this version. This is still not a religious song. I need to emphasize that. It's not a religious song. Yeah, you shouldn't sing this at worship. Well, at least I don't think so. You can if you want to, but it might not mean what you think it means. So, again, the way it's structured, you have that religious imagery of the first two verses. It uses some religious imagery in the middle verses, but it's more of a realization that the narrator is coming to on what a hallelujah, what that love truly is, and what it has become, up until the very last two lines, where the narrator is disaffected by that notion of the holy idealization of hallelujah, up until he says, well, if I do have that idealization, in which I think I do, it's for this passion I have, which is of music. So, that's a good version too. This is This is way better than the album version, in my opinion. Far better. Not to mention that piano, man. That solo at the end sounds awesome. So, up next, my favorite version of this song so far. It's the live version in Chicago as performed by Jeff Buckley. Sounds super raw. I'll go into it a little bit more, but in the meantime, listen to the song. Let's get to part 6.